Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching our show. I appreciate you watching it all over the area from Nemacolin to Cranberry and Wexford on Verizon 32. Again, that's TV, Verizon Channel 32. Only Comcast 7 in Bethel Park. People keep asking me about this. We're on YouTube. We have 300 plus shows on YouTube. I can give you the link, or you can find Sportsline or Pittsburgh Sportsline. Keep searching for us. By the way, I'm not even here in the studio today. I got honored with, on the Donnybrook, they're having Pittsburgh Sportsline Talking Machine do some interviews of boxing people and celebrities, and we're going to be on like a red carpet at the Priory Hotel over in Northside. So check us out there right after the show. They're going to have boxing from 8 to 11, so you'll get to see us. Smokin' Jim is on the ringside announcing crew, and he'll be missing from action on the show. Chip the Prophet Hayner and Zach Brenner, the Amish Assassin, they're going to have a 1-hour show to entertain you, hopefully with sports. Have a great night and be safe. See you next week.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. Do not change that TV dial. You are not seeing something that you've never seen before. I'm Little Z, Zach Brenner, filling in for Alan Levine, the Talking Machine, who is out on assignment, along with co-host Smokin' Jim Frazier. Correction, folks. They are down at the Donnybrook, down at the Priory on the North Shore, which is a great event for boxing, which is going to be shown at 8 p.m. on PCNC TV. So after you're done watching Pittsburgh Sportsline, tune over that dial to PCNC and check out what's going on with the Donnybrook local amateur boxing. Want to give a shout-out to Olive Oil's Pizzeria. Can we get this, John? Can we get this good? You got it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks, John.
The volunteers are eating well tonight, huh?
Yes, they are. They're enjoying that pepperoni pizza from Olive Oil's Pizzeria. Great place, great food. Give them a call. Also, speaking of give them a call, give us a call tonight. 412-831-3304. We'll take every and all call in the order that they are received. Chip the Prophet Hayner, as we often do on every Tuesday night. What is on your mind, my friend?
Oh, thank you, Zach. And Zach and I got some big shoes to fill. Alan does fill up the airwaves. We don't call him the Talking Machine for nothing. And Jim's insight on just about anything that has anything to do with football will be greatly missed. So we'll try to pick up our end of the stick this week. But what's on my mind is one of my favorite sporting events of the entire year actually starts tonight with 2 play-in games, and that is March Madness. The madness has begun. The NCAA basketball tournament is kicking off with 2 play-in games tonight, 2 tomorrow night, with a local team trying to advance to the field of 64. I love the NCAA tournament. One of the things that I enjoy so much about it, it's a one-and-done tournament. There is no second chance. You got to put it all on the line. And the thing I like most about the tournament is that most of the athletes that you're going to watch over the next 2 weeks will make their professional livings doing something other than playing basketball. So what you see is a bunch of kids that will never, ever see the NBA floor playing their hearts out, for maybe their last chance. And I'm really looking forward to it. This year, a heavy favorite to go undefeated is the Kentucky Wildcats. They've steamrolled everybody, 34-0 going into the tournament. They've got to win 6 more. They're going to have their work cut out for them with the draw that they have in the Midwest Division. But that's what's on my mind so far this evening.
Well, that's still a little bit of my thunder, Chip the Prophet, with March Madness. Obviously, since I was a young lad and I was able to sit in in-school suspension quite often during March, I would fill out my brackets, and I have one here tonight that I'm going to be filling out during the show, so I'll offer a little bit of insight as we go through the night here, folks, because obviously the tournament starts on Thursday, but these meaningless games, as I call them, they are playing games, but these teams are,
Just to give
Cinderella
you a
does
little
dance.
aside to the play-in games, 2 years ago, I won my poll because I picked the play-in games, and the guy that I beat didn't. So it does make a difference.
Well, depending on whose bracket that you're filling out, a lot of guys don't really count the playing games because, like I said, you have until Thursday to get your bracket in at noon. So, but that's another topic. So I'll switch to something else on my mind. And what's really on my mind tonight, folks, is NASCAR. NASCAR driver Kurt Busch of the number 41 car was recently reinstated by NASCAR after reaching the conditions of his reinstatement. We'll never truly know what really happened, Chip, in Delaware that night because, there's two parties and there's two sides, three sides, as Al Levine says to every story. The right side, the wrong side, and the truth. So I just found it a little bit ironic that, NASCAR kind of took the opposite approach to that the NFL did with, like, Ray Rice. And immediately before, charges were really filed or everything really turned out, they immediately suspended Kurt Busch. But Kurt Busch is back in NASCAR. He was racing in Phoenix. I'm sure he's happy to resume his racing season. And that's what's on my mind tonight, folks. Don't believe everything you hear. There's several sides to every story, and I'm happy Kurt Busch is back driving.
And he's deserving to be reinstated because he has fulfilled the requirements set by NASCAR to be reinstated, and it's an ongoing process. But you think about as much of a disaster that the NFL made of the Ray Rice situation. I think anybody now moving forward is going to err on the side of caution as opposed to waiting because look at all the backlash that the NFL got. Now, NASCAR isn't bulletproof like the NFL is. I mean, it doesn't seem like no matter what the NFL does, they come out smelling like a rose. But, NASCAR can't take the negative hit.
It could have been a different outcome, Chip, though, had there been, mobile home park trailer video of what happened with Kurt Busch and his ex-girlfriend. But the thing about the NFL and Ray Rice is that it turns out that video was handed over to the NFL in advance. And what they didn't know or they did know or what Goodell does or doesn't do will always be in doubt or whatever. But the NFL knew what was on the video.
But the thing is, and I hope this is about the last that we'll mention about Ray Rice, but, free agency started about 10 days ago.
Still not
signed.
And
he has still not gotten an offer from anybody. And now, the next thing that I expect to hear is from his agent or an attorney that's going to somehow say that the owners are in collusion against bringing him back. But, look at the baggage that he's bringing with him. Would you want him?
Hey, listen, Chip, I'm not going to lie to you. The Oakland Raiders signed Trent Richardson from the Colts today. So listen to this, Chip. If they can sign Trent Richardson, the Raiders, why not sign Ray Rice? Well, to me, I think Ray Rice is a better running back right now than Trent Richardson.
Well, I think Brown Rice is better running back than Trent Richardson. The funny thing I find about Trent Richardson is here's the number one draft pick, a very high draft pick in the NFL draft, was a complete bust for the Cleveland Browns. So they shipped him off to Indianapolis. Now, the Cleveland Browns are a train wreck on a good day, okay? So, let's not put a black mark against him for not performing in Cleveland. But he goes to Indianapolis, okay? Now, here's a team that's in contention. You would think that he would have his head screwed on straight and he'd be flying right, and he got himself suspended. Didn't even play in the playoffs. So here's a guy that has, like Jim likes to say, is a bust. And he somehow is delusional enough to think that he's an all-pro caliber running back. And he hasn't shown it to anybody else in the NFL, any of the fans, but apparently he believes he is. And Oakland isn't the place to go to showcase your wares.
Well, he's going to get every opportunity because the Dallas Cowboys jumped in and signed Darren McFadden. So they needed a running back. They brought in obviously the cheapest option at running back. Me personally, there's some guys around the way that I would have picked over Trent Richardson. Got to question his heart. I mean, there's things that you can get away with in college, especially when you're playing for a program like Alabama.
Right.
So when it's your turn to step up and it's all on you, it's a tough thing, especially in the NFL, especially at running back.
You watch what Darren McFadden does this year running behind that Dallas offensive line. DeMarco Murray was the best running back in football. And, I think while we're talking about football, and I mentioned DeMarco Murray, I think the Philadelphia Eagles made a big mistake signing him for $42 million. And here's the reason why. DeMarco Murray touched the ball this year 497 times in the season. Now, I've looked at some statistics over time of running backs that have had 350-plus touches in a season and what their performance was the next 2 seasons afterwards. And there's a significant drop-off because the amount of pounding and abuse that he took, it's going to show.
Who would you rather have, McCoy or Murray?
I'd like Shady McCoy. I think this is a better running back all the way around. He's better out of the backfield, and we'll see what Chip Kelly does. I think Chip Kelly's loading his guns because you do not be surprised if he pulls some chicanery and ends up with Marcus Mariota as his quarterback this year. And everybody's got him slated going number 6 to the Jets, but Chip Kelly wants him bad, and I think he's positioning himself to make some trades on draft day to get him under his wing.
How embarrassing is that, though, for the Jets to be in consecutive drafts almost have to waste your first number 1 pick on a quarterback? It just goes to show you how crucial scouting and talent evaluation is in the league,
Oh, yeah, and actually it shows you why it was such a good idea for the Steelers to re-sign Ben, and thank goodness that they did. We've got him for another 5 years, and wow, this contract of his, man, I'll tell you what, Ben's a lucky man. In the first 2 years of this contract, he's going to get $53 million. He's going to get a $31 million signing bonus, and then his salary for the 2 years. And the signing bonus is deferred over the 5 years of the contract. So he's going to be getting paid real well. And I'm glad to see him back because with him behind the helm at our offense, you got to say that the Steelers are going to have a fighting chance in every season.
Always. Ever since he came on to step foot on the field for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm kind of glad to all the teams looking back on that draft that Ben came in on, that all the teams that passed on him and took Eli and Phillip Rivers before him because he was out of Miami, Ohio. But my feeling on it is that football is football, and Ben still put up good numbers in college to justify, every bit as good as Eli and Rivers. But for some reason, Eli Manning has just found a way to win, and I can't quite explain it, but hey.
Yeah, and and the thing, and I think his most impressive statistic was the year that he proved to the New England Patriots that 18-1 doesn't mean anything. He took an undefeated Patriots team that steamrolled everybody, and he beat them. And, I say 18-1 didn't mean anything because the Patriots that year were the only team in NFL history to go 18-1 and not win a championship. So that's another thing they can hang on their mantle.
Jumping back to undefeated teams right now. In the NCAA tournament, the Kentucky Wildcats, coached by John Calipari, they enter the tournament undefeated, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I just feel that it's going to be extremely hard to go completely undefeated through an entire college basketball season. And I'm going to tell you why. Maybe these first 2 rounds or so aren't such a challenge, but the challenge is going to come as they go deeper into the tournament and they actually start playing some high-caliber teams, and we're going to find, it's going to test the gumption of those Wildcats. But I would be stunned to see Kentucky win the whole thing wire to wire, going undefeated.
Well, and this is going to dovetail into my Chips trivia. So just to kind of talk to you about, I was doing some research today. Well, I had 15 or 20 seconds because I'm at my busy time of the year, and I don't spend much time sitting still. But there's a poll I saw on ESPN, which I voted in, and over 500,000 people have voted in this poll. And they said, who are you willing to pick for the NCAA tournament, Kentucky or the field? and Kentucky is winning by 1% over the field. And I said, and it's not just like 15 or 20 people that said this. This is over 500,000 people who voted. I think that's a pretty telling statistic. But to get to my trivia and to kind of, finish off what Zach was saying, how difficult is it to be an undefeated champion and to win it all? Well, the last time that happened was in 1976. So as you can see, it doesn't happen very often. And there was a team last year that went into the tournament undefeated, only to lose when it got down near the very end of the Wichita State team. Okay, but there have been 7 undefeated NCAA basketball champions in the history of the tournament. And I'm going to go through the teams that won and the years that they won it, what their record was. The first one was the San Francisco Dons, 1956. Bill Russell and Casey Jones were the centerpieces of that team. And Bill Russell, obviously, everybody knows who he is. Celtic great, won 10 championships himself as the center of the Boston Celtics. And Casey Jones also played for the Celtics on Red Auerbach's team. The next undefeated champion happened to be in 1957, North Carolina Tar Heels. They defeated Wilt Chamberlain's Kansas team in 3 overtimes. So not only did they go in, 31-0 in the final game, they had to go 3 overtimes to win it all. The next 4 undefeated champions were all part of John Wooden's dynasty at UCLA. His 1964 team was 30-0, and that was the first of John Wooden's 10 NCAA titles. 1967, the first of a record 7 in a row for the Bruins, and by 7 in a row, they won 7 tournaments, NCAA tournament championships in a row. They didn't go undefeated, every one of them. So the first one, 1964. 1967 was the second one. 1972, UCLA once again was 30-0, and this was part of the 88-game winning streak, a record that will never be matched. That's like Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. It's never going to be equaled, I don't believe. The fourth and final one was in 1973. Bill Walton. His record as the Bruins center was 86-4, and they were followed by Indiana's Hoosiers and Bobby Knight's perfect team, 32-0 in 1976. Now,
so it's been done.
It's been done 7 times. It hasn't been done since in almost 40 years. So, this is what my thoughts are. And I've watched the Kentucky team, and I would not be too surprised if that team ends up with 6 or 7 first-round NBA draft picks this year. And I think the Kentucky Wildcats are going to do it this year. If I was going to bet, I would bet on Kentucky against the field. But, what do I know? I make predictions now and again, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. I think Kentucky's a very, very strong contender. I think they could play with anybody. Doesn't mean that they can't be beat. I just don't know if they will be. That was my trivia for this week. Because I usually like to make my trivia pertain to what's going on in the sports world, and we're going into the tournament, and I'd like to make my predictions before the first tip-off.
Well, that's the next segment, as Alvin always alludes to. I'll take you to On Location last night at the Smokehouse on West Liberty Avenue. It was a little bit dark in there, Devin Shea, as you could allude to in the control room. It was quite a little bit dark, but it was quite bright under the lights where the stage was set up for these guys. But it was a great show last night. Had a lot of great guests. Jamie Chesney came out, MMA fighter, who I feel was way too gorgeous to fight in a cage.
Oh, she is easy on the eyes, Zach. I will tell you that.
Very much so. Comedian T-Robe, who performs down at the Improv at the Waterfront, came out to the show last night. MMA fighter Rich Canalina also came out to the show last night. So it was a great show. Smoking Jim Frazier ate every ounce of meat off of the bones of his ribs.
That's a first. Did he suck the marrow out of the
French
bones?
fries were gone. The bones were alone, and I went home. But it was a great show at the Smokehouse. I believe next week we're back at Duke's Rib House and Grill, but don't quote me on that. Thursday we have a show with Jessica Lee. It's gonna be a great time. Looking forward to that. And that's On Location. As we move along through here, let's talk a little bit about the University of Pittsburgh Panthers. men's and women's hoops teams. It's a shame or a travesty in my book when the women's hoops team is in the real tournament and the men's team is in the NIT. But what are you gonna do? Susie McConnell-Serio has done a brilliant job with that Pitt women's basketball team.
Yeah, she is. That was one of the smartest hires that Steve Peterson ever. I guess his swan song. He did leave them with an excellent coach. She's a local girl, and she just knows how to motivate that team. They've only got 2 seniors on this team, and the girls couldn't be more excited. I heard some sound bites from last night when they were announcing the tournament selections, and the Pitt was the next to the last team that was picked. And Susie McConnell-Serio said that she didn't care if they were picked first, they were picked last. She said, I didn't even pay attention to who we were going to play. I didn't care. I was just overjoyed that they made it. And I'm happy for the Pitt women's basketball team, too, because I think that she could really build something there. You stay there 10, 15, 20 years. She could recruit all of the best talent from all over the place, and she's a been there, done it kind of gal. She's done everything that there is to do in women's basketball, from playing in the WNBA and winning championships there, college. She's done it all.
The real question is, nobody's questioning McConnell-Serio. The real question is Jamie Dixon. What do you do with Jamie Dixon, Chip? What do you do? Because there's a guaranteed man that's going to win you at least 18 to 20 games every season. And, but this is the thing, though, as you smile. This is the thing, though. Here's the question, though. Doesn't he deserve more credit for getting done with what he has than any other coach? Because he's not one of the bigger programs in the country.
And my dear friend Jim Frazier is not a very big fan of Jamie Dixon, and I myself have been critical of him in the past. That all being said, I'm thinking back to the last time the University of Pitt basketball team, men's basketball team, played in the NIT. And we have to get into the Wayback Machine and go all the way back to the year 2000. And Ben Howland was head coach of the Pitt team. And the only reason why Pitt made it to the NIT that year, because they had a very strong run in the Big East tournament, lost in the championship game, which enabled them to make it to the NIT because they didn't really have a particularly good season. They had a young team at the time, and the ironic thing was that they made the NIT. They lost, I believe, in the second round that year. The following year, Pitt was a number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. So I'm going to go out on a limb here because I see some parallels between the Pitt team that's playing now, which is an extremely young team. Most of them will be back. They've got some junior college transfers coming in this year. I expect the Pitt Panthers to make the NCAA tournament next year. I'm not going to go any further out on a limb than to say that, yes, they will be an NCAA tournament team. I think the lessons that they learned this year, will bode them well because, you take it into account. This is a very, very young, inexperienced team. And they played teams the like of Duke, North Carolina. Those are the big kids on the block, and not just in the ACC. They're the big kids on the block nationwide.
Exactly, Chip. And the big kids on the block, you don't think they're going to reload with all those McDonald's All-Americans?
They will. And I'm not saying that they're going to win the ACC.
But what I'm saying to you is, wouldn't you say, though, that this year, though, in my opinion, the ACC was one of its weakest? Like North Carolina wasn't as strong as you expect out of a Roy Williams team. Duke wasn't, as
Duke's the number 1 seed.
They are number 1 seed, but I'm telling you right now, Duke is not built like typical Mike Krzyzewski teams. They can be beaten. They are flawed.
And Virginia all year long was ranked number 2 or number 1. Until they finally lost. But I do believe that it was in Pitt's best interest to move to the ACC, and you know what? Maybe it takes them a couple of years to learn how to play in the ACC. They were used to playing in the Big East, and they had mastered that conference.
Yeah, it might be a 50-56 game, where it's defense and it's grounded
out. I think we criticize Jamie Dixon a little too much, and I think he is a good basketball coach. And I'll be interested to see what they do tonight. They tipped off here at 7 o'clock. They're playing George Washington tonight in the first round of the NIT. They're down at the Peterson Event Center. So let's see what they bring. They the last 4 games of the season, they kind of tailspinned 0-4 going out towards the end of the season. They've got nothing to lose right now. The only thing they've got left to play for is pride, and I think playing in a tournament-type atmosphere can do nothing but bode well for this team for next year because, in a tournament game, every possession is important. You can't say, I just threw it away and it's no big deal. It could be the difference between winning and losing.
And that's why I'm a firm believer that it's going to be extremely hard for Kentucky to go undefeated because, as you could allude to, anything can happen in the dance. It's one game, it's one and done. Somebody runs down and puts it up, and time expires, and it goes in, and Kentucky's gone.
And that's the beauty of it. That's why I really, really love the tournament. And, and who's going to be the upset, the Cinderella team this year? Somebody that nobody's going to expect is going to make it into the Sweet 16, possibly even to the Elite 8. I don't know who that's going to be because I haven't studied the college basketball scene so much this year. And maybe when I get home, I'll get online, fill out a couple of polls, but we'll see what happens.
It's such a great tournament to watch because individuals take center stage. Guys that can just make things happen, can create off the dribble, can win games, and just take over this tournament.
Tell you another team to keep an eye on. Watch out for those West Virginia Mountaineers. Bob Huggins got that team ready to go. They lost to Baylor in the Big 12 conference, but West Virginia is no slouch. They play a great press defense, and they like to force a lot of turnovers. But while we're talking about basketball, there's also, not only is it college basketball tournament time, we're wrapping up the state basketball playoffs right now, and we do have some local teams that have put up a good. What's the word I'm looking for? That have played very well and are vying for championships. The first one is a City League team, the Allderdice Dragons. They are playing tonight against Martin Luther King out of Philadelphia High School. And this is one of the teams that year in and year out is one of the best teams in the state. And actually the 2 best teams in the state right now are the Roman Catholic team out of Philadelphia and the Martin Luther King team. Allderdice is ranked number 3, and Allderdice really does have a chance. They've got the amazing set of twins that have been performing. Plus, they've also got a guard named Ramon Crichton, who's very unselfishly decided to spread the ball around, and instead of going out and being happy that he scored 20 points, he scored 12 or 13 points, and the team's winning. It's making a big, big difference. Another team that's getting set to try to make their mark, and this is another team that may be the first in a long time, probably the first in a long time in the WPIAL, the only WPIAL team left in the state boys basketball playoffs, Aliquippa. Aliquippa is 28-0. Okay, so they're playing tonight. And they're playing versus West Middlesex High School, and I'd love to see the Aliquippa team bring back a state title. Also, we've got some local girls basketball teams that are playing in the semifinals, and in the Quad A, you have Norwin playing against Cumberland Valley, and Norwin is the 3rd-ranked women's team in the Quad A. And they are playing the number 1 ranked team, who has the number 1 ranked female high school basketball player in the state, Kelly Jokett. And so they've got their works cut out for them, but Norwin has been playing real well. Also, we have Blackhawk is playing Berks Catholic, another team from out east. They're playing tonight in the AAA semifinals. And let's not forget about Seton LaSalle. Seton LaSalle is playing Bishop Canavan this evening in the semifinals of the Class AA. So we've got some local teams that are trying to make some noise, and let's see, root these girls on. They're 2 games away from playing, well, actually 1 game away from playing for the championship.
High school basketball, folks. I'll tell you what, though, Chip, as I look through this bracket here for the NCAA, Kentucky was done no favors by the committee by any stretch of the imagination. There's a Notre Dame team that's hot, that's lurking right around the corner for Notre Dame. Wisconsin is gonna face up, in Arizona Sean Miller, local product in McConnell is out there.
Oh, yeah,
playing for
Arizona's a number 2 seed, and arguably a lot of people felt that they should have been a number 1 seed. Sean Miller's battle tested, and he knows what to do. He's got that team going, doing very well. But the Notre Dame basketball team did something that no other Notre Dame basketball team has ever done. They won a conference title. They won the ACC title. They beat North Carolina in the championship game. So, you come out of the ACC as the ACC champ, you are no slouch.
Well, to me, I'll tell you what's a disservice, though, Chip, is that the committee gave Notre Dame a number 3, and they gave North Carolina a number 4 seed. To me, that's just not right in my books, in my opinion. To give for the peril in the ACC to give Notre Dame a 3 and North Carolina a 4. I mean, Pitt beat North Carolina. So,
Pitt also beat Notre Dame, but here's what here's what you have to think about. Notre Dame and Duke, they're always going to get a top 3 or 4 seed just based on their name, on their history, and because of the coaches that coach the team. A Roy Williams coach team, Coach K, he's got 1,000 wins in his career. I mean, he could take 5 kids off the street and probably win 3 games in a tournament.
Like I said, I already focused on the Kentucky side of the bracket. I haven't got to the other side yet, the East and the South. But just glancing at it, Chip, it is nowhere near as loaded as the other side. Like, this Kentucky side is completely loaded. I was just going to give a quick rundown of what's going on here on the other side. You got Villanova is a number 1. They're 32-2 going into the big dance. Let's see who as we run down here. Virginia is on this other side. Duke got rewarded with a number 1. So my question is how do you go 29-5 as Notre Dame, win your conference championship? Duke goes 29-4 and gets rewarded with a number 1, and you get a number 3.
You know what? I'm not a bracketologist, and I don't figure all this stuff out. Brighter minds than mine do. But just for your information,
look at the names of the schools on the right side.
Of Kentucky's 34 wins, only 7 have been by fewer than 10 points. I mean, they are a monster. I mean, they're basically. I bet you could suit them up and beat at least a handful of teams in the NBA.
Let's
not make sure we don't fail to mention. Robert Morris made the tournament this year.
Yes, they did.
They won their conference. Excuse me. They won their conference tournament, and they're playing in one of the play-in games tomorrow night. So, you know what? They're just happy to be there. It's Coach Andy Toole's first NCAA tournament. Hopefully, for more to come for him there.
Yeah, we'll give a shout out to the Colonials of Robert Morris. Something I wanted to touch briefly on. I read the letter that Pete Rose sent to the commissioner of baseball looking for reinstatement. Obviously, Chip is a huge proponent of putting Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame. My thing is that several games have been tainted and leagues have been tainted over the years because of certain things, because of scandals, whether it's point shaving in basketball or with steroids in baseball. But I think we could all agree on Pete Rose was a great baseball player. Pete Rose played the game, and this guy played before I was even born, and he played the game in such a manner that I would have loved to play the game like Pete Rose played. When you run into the home plate for an all-star game and you're playing hard, even in an all-star game, like that's the kind of guy that I want on my team.
And Zach, one thing I do have to do, and I will have to agree with you on the fact that Pete Rose was probably one of the greatest players to play the game. I watched his entire career. He was an amazing ball player. You hated him because he wasn't playing for your team. And if he played for your team, you'd have really loved him. But, you were probably too young at the time when all of this went down, when the lifelong suspension was offered to Pete Rose, and he accepted it. But Pete Rose was, flaunting the rules of of Major League Baseball and deliberately disobeying them and taunting the commissioner. And basically, they had to come down on him hard. Now, here is what my biggest problem is with Pete Rose and his reinstatement to baseball. Now, I'm going to go all the way back to 1919, and Alan Levine will agree with me on this. That was the year that the 1919 White Sox, they called it the Black Sox scandal, where the World Series was thrown, okay? And a gentleman named Shoeless Joe Jackson, who was really kind of an uneducated Southern man who was a great baseball player, really didn't have a real good idea. He was kind of led down the path by the wrong elements. But be that as it may, he was involved in the scandal, and he was subsequently banished for life by Kennesaw Mountain Landis, who was the commissioner of baseball at that time, because he was involved in a gambling scheme that, tossed the World Series. Now, baseball has set precedent by anybody involved with gambling will be banned from baseball for life, okay? And if you reinstate Pete Rose, this is the way I look at it. I think Pete Rose should have to wait as long as Shoeless Joe Jackson has waited to get into the Hall of Fame, and he is still not in the Hall of Fame. And Joe Jackson's career, he only played 13 years in the major leagues. His lifetime batting average was .349, which was higher than Pete Rose's, which is, if you look at his stats over the period of time that he played, he was a Hall of Famer. And how he isn't in the Hall of Fame is beyond me, because he's deserving of it, and why somebody never did something to get him and voted into the Hall of Fame. But because of the precedent set, I think that they should honor the precedent. Why should Pete Rose get special consideration when somebody that has done it the same thing before will not?
Did Shoeless Joe Jackson not still have fantastic numbers for that World Series, though, that he's accused of tanking?
You know what? I'd have to go back and revisit it. But the fact of the matter is, and here's what's going to happen, because public opinion is probably going to
favor Pete Rose.
Fay Vincent was the Bart Giamatti was the commissioner of baseball that was getting into it with Pete Rose, and Pete Rose was and then Fay Vincent came in and instituted. But I don't feel bad for Pete Rose, because he accepted, and because of his arrogance, he accepted a lifetime ban. And this is the reason why. I'm Pete Rose. A different set of rules apply to me. Oh, go ahead, give me a lifetime ban. A year from now, you guys are going to vote me into the Hall of Fame anyhow. Well, he's wrong. And it's where it is right now. And who's to say what the new commissioner will do? The new commissioner may reinstate him, but there are a great number of people that vote for the Hall of Fame that will not vote for him, and are on record as saying they will never vote for him. So.
And is that in that list? Does that include Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire,
and at all,
Sammy Sosa,
all of them? And it's funny, because you have baseball writers, and they carry petty grudges against people, and they'll carry them with them to their death. And these guys, they get a vote for the Hall of Fame, and they got it in a deathlock, and they're not going to give it up for anything, and they're going to make their point. And so I personally would not be too surprised if he ends up being reinstated and ultimately gets voted into the Hall of Fame. But I don't know if it's going to be an automatic thing. Because, you have to get into the Hall of Fame, you have to have 75% of the vote.
I'm an optimist, but I will lean on, for this reason, I will vote against Pete Rose getting into the Hall of Fame for the reasons that Chip alluded to, because if you put Pete Rose in, now you got to go back to 1919, and you got to make the rights, and you got to put Shoeless Joe Jackson in. And then, furthermore, now it's going to bring all kinds of problems in with the steroid era, because it's going to be like, look, you put these guys in that got in trouble and got lifetime bans for cheating, and you can't put me in.
But see, if the commissioner reinstates Pete Rose, all he's doing is putting him on the ballot. He's not putting him into the Hall of Fame. the sports writers who are the real people that will determine, and will he get enough votes? There's a number of people that said they will vote for him, and there's, I believe, equally a number of people that will not.
Can you say, since you come from an era of baseball, the golden age, like way back, I'm talking 60s and 70s in baseball, could you legitimately say that these guys that took steroids and performance enhancing drugs, that they could be, some of the greatest baseball players ever? Because I'm gonna name some names. Like I said, Roger Clemens,
Barry Bonds,
Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, like these guys that have tremendous numbers. Doesn't that taint the numbers?
Well, yeah, it does taint the numbers. And here's what the thing is about these guys. These guys were the best players of their era. They would have been Hall of Fame players if they didn't do this. The only reason why they did this was because of the money that was being thrown around, and their egos got the better of them, and they wanted to be the highest paid, and I want to have the most press, and I want to have the most notoriety. And you know what? Barry Bonds is probably one of the greatest ball players of this generation that any of us have seen. He didn't need to cheat. He was a great ball player.
But what I'm saying to you, once he crossed that line and he took that stuff, doesn't that that just throws it all down the drain for me?
Well, it does. And here's the thing. Mark McGwire was one of the first that were busted. And I read an article where he finally came out and said, yes, I took steroids, and yes, I knew what I was doing was wrong, and I benefited from it greatly, and if I had it to do over again, I wouldn't. And he admitted this to his child, okay? And, and that right there was that they all knew that what they were doing wasn't right, but they attacked people. Roger Clemens, had a team of lawyers. They sued everybody. Barry Bonds, he fought everything in court and everything like that. They knew that what they were doing was wrong, but now they're going to say, well, my record should stand. Well, you know what? You didn't need to do that because, if Barry Bonds didn't do steroids, he wouldn't have hit 700 and however many home runs he's gotten. He would have probably hit 500 to 600, maybe more than 600 home runs, okay? Which is still Hall of Fame caliber. But he was never the greatest home run hitter in baseball. The greatest home run hitters in baseball, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Willie Mays. Willie Mays hit 666 home runs, okay? He played in Candlestick Park. Playing in that ballpark, okay, which it was out on the point and it was horrible weather conditions, constant wind blowing, right? He said that if he would have played in any other ballpark than Candlestick, he would have hit at least 100 more home runs in his career, and realistically he would have, But you know what? I mean, that's an argument maybe for another day, but
sticking with the baseball theme, Chip is wearing a Pirates hoodie on this evening, and we were talking a little bit about the 20-game package for the Pirates that came in the mail for him today.
Yeah.
Didn't the Pirates play today in Grapefruit?
Yeah, they did. They played today against the Houston Astros, and they got tattooed. And it was a very high-scoring game. I think they lost 13-7. But it's not surprising to see that going on. And what they did do is they announced their opening day pitcher for this season. We start the season in Cincinnati, and it's going to be Francisco Liriano pitching against Johnny Cueto. Frankie Liriano will pitch the opener, and Garrett Cole will pitch the second game. A.J. Burnett will pitch the third. And what they're thinking about doing with the rotation is there's Vance Worley and Jeff Locke kind of fighting back and forth to see who gets the position of the fifth starter. But Charlie Morton is the fourth starter, okay? Charlie Morton and A.J. Burnett are somewhat similar types of pitchers. So what they're going to do is they're going to pitch Charlie Morton in the fifth spot and put either Vance Worley or Jeff Locke in the fourth spot just to get the breakup so that a team that they're playing doesn't seem the same type of pitcher 2 nights in a row. But Vance Worley pitched against the Orioles on Sunday, and he pitched scoreless 3 innings. And, you can't really get too worked up over what they do right now, because what they're doing is they're stretching out the pitcher's arms. And when I say they're stretching out their arms, they're getting them ready to go out and be starting pitchers and be able to pitch 6 or 7 innings. So they start them out 2 innings the first couple of times, then they pitch them 3, then they'll pitch 4 innings. So they gradually work their strength up to get to the to the point where they can go out and start and give us the 6 or 7 innings, which is what I guess is considered a day's work for a pitcher. But I'm old school.
Is it fairly good news that so far there hasn't been too much plague of injuries with the arms so far?
It's absolutely. But the injury bug for pitching arms has bitten all around the major leagues. There's, I believe, Yu Darvish in Texas, Tommy John surgery. Zach Wheeler in New York Mets, one of their starters, Tommy John surgery. There's been about 8 or 10 pitchers that have had to go under the knife already this year.
Now, when you say Tommy John surgery, for the folks at home, is it not in the? It's more in the elbow. It's not in the shoulder. It has nothing to do with the shoulder. It's more.
No, there's a tendon that attaches the muscles between the upper and the lower arm, and what ends up happening because of when you pitch a baseball, it's an unnatural act, and if you have any flaws in your mechanics, you'll start wearing on that tendon, and if the tendon snaps or if it pulls away from the bone, the option that they have is they go in, they operate, they drill holes in the bone, they take a tendon out of your leg or another portion of your body, and they go in there and they rebuild it. And the thing is that once they do this surgery, the rehab for it is the pitchers are taught proper mechanics. And generally after this type of surgery, they come out better pitchers, because the problem with the young arms, and the reason why this happens to a lot of young pitchers, is when they come into the majors and they get into the minor leagues, everybody wants to get noticed by the scouts. So they're out there trying to throw the ball as fast as they can. Everybody wants to throw the ball 100 miles an hour, okay? Then they get noticed. Now that they've gotten themselves noticed, now they have to learn how to pitch. And all they know how to do is throw it as hard and as fast as they can. Their mechanics may not be sound. You know, I always say one of my favorite pitchers of all time got into the Hall of Fame last year, Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux never threw a fastball more than 88 miles an hour. He won 300 and some odd games, and he's in the Hall of Fame, you know. So you don't really have to throw the ball 100 miles an hour to be a successful pitcher.
But Greg Maddux was also the beneficiary. He played on some good Cubs teams. He played on some good Braves teams.
Yes, he did.
On some good staff. So, you know, but it's not like he was playing for...
No. And, you know, in the Atlanta Braves pitching staff of that era was the best there was in baseball. Smoltz, as a matter of fact, Glavine, Smoltz, and now Maddux are all in the Hall of Fame.
As they should be.
You know, so. Hey, I know, and I do have to agree with Zach when I say this, you know, Marc-Andre Fleury should be the Penguins' team MVP for this year. Crosby isn't getting it done. Malkin, you know, it's funny, the Penguins are playing tonight in New Jersey, and their top 2 goal scorers are not playing, and neither of them are Crosby. Yeah. But Sunday, the Penguins had about the most embarrassing performance that I think I've seen from them recently, and it wasn't so much that they got outplayed by the Detroit Red Wings, as they just completely lost their minds.
Did you see all the players in the penalty box at one point?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and here's what part of the problem is. Now, Penguins are now gaining a reputation around the league and with the referees as being a bunch of whiners and complainers. And you know, the referees are getting to the point where they've had it. They're sick and tired of it. And I think one of the things that the Penguins need to start doing is they need to quit yapping
and play hockey.
And they need to start playing hockey, okay? They need to get in there. They need to get physical with people. And instead of crying about what this guy just got away with doing, here's how you answer that. Score goals. Shoot the puck. I mean, Sidney Crosby's got 23 goals for this year. He's the best player in hockey. That's not. I was looking.
It's debatable. It's becoming debatable though. Well, before he got his eggs scrambled, he was the most dominant force.
There's no question.
In hockey.
But listen, look at this. You've got Evgeny Malkin, who's got 28 goals. You've got Sid Crosby, who's got 23 goals. Okay, and then you've got Alex Ovechkin, who's got 47 goals himself. Okay. I mean, what the difference between Ovechkin, Crosby, and Malkin? Ovechkin always shoots.
Always.
From everywhere,
anywhere,
any angle.
Correct.
And you know what? It would make a big difference. Now, I know Sid has changed the way he has played his game this year, okay, because they are playing a more defensive-minded system. because the offensive-minded system that they've tried the last 5 years has failed miserably.
Do you think Sidney Crosby's best days are behind him as a hockey player?
I do. You know, I am very disappointed in him. I don't think that, you know, he's the captain of the team and everybody says he's the hardest worker. But, you know, show some leadership. You know, I mean, if he's not, I believe that he's injured and he's been playing hurt all year. And I think that whatever was going on with his wrist has affected his ability to shoot the puck and shoot the puck with the zip. And you can never get any kind of a straight answer out of them. And hockey players are tough guys, and they're gonna, they're gonna play regardless. But I'm very disappointed in the way he has played. This year, somebody that is arguably the best player in the league, highest paid player, I don't think he performs like him right now.
I'm going to throw out a name there from the Chicago Blackhawks, Kane.
Mm-hmm.
One of the premier players in the league, an American-born talent. But I think that what has the Penguins in trouble right now, Chip, is that the way that their salary is structured. You know,
yes.
You got a lot of money invested in the goaltender Fleury and in Malkin and Crosby and Letang.
Mm-hmm.
And and so for the rest of it, you kind of just scavenger and I think we're not going to get back to winning Stanley Cups in this city until the whole quality of the team improves. I'm talking the third line to the fourth line. Until you get some better production from those two lines, and you just don't throw guys from all over the country together. When you had guys like Max Talbot on the fourth line, he was producing. I mean, he was penalty killing. He still could score. He was grinding. He was doing grit. And then you had the likes of Stahl anchor in the third line, and then
yes.
you split Crosby and Malkin up. That will go down as it was a dominant team. But if you also go back to, we still were suspect on defense because we almost lost that Stanley Cup. If somebody didn't, guys were diving and taking the body and blocking shots. You just don't see that from this team anymore right now.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And I think Ray Shero, as the general manager of the Penguins, he did some great things for the Penguins. He got us into the Stanley Cup Finals in 2008, 2009. And I think he also did the Penguins a disservice because I think the model that they have, where they have a majority of their salary cap money tied up in 4 players, leaves them very slim pickings to get those role players that you were mentioning. People, right now, we don't have a dominant first and second line. But when we did have a dominant first and second line, we had a third and fourth line that was capable of scoring when the first and second line got shut down. The recipe's out there to beat the Penguins. Here's what you do. You shut down Crosby, you get into Malkin's head, and everything else just kind of falls apart. And then
you crash the net and you shoot. You crash on Fleury and you shoot.
I mean, what happened on Sunday, that's a page right out of the Philadelphia Flyers book. And I mean, I was watching that game, and the Detroit Red Wings did not play a dirty game. You know what they did? They out-hustled, they out-hit, and they shot the puck. And subsequently, look what happened. I mean, people lost their minds. I can't believe that we put so many people in the penalty box against the team that has the best power play in the league. It's a recipe for disaster, and subsequently, look what happened. But they've got 13 games to turn this around.
How would you grade the performance of the first-year head coach of the Penguins this year?
Mike Johnson, I would probably give him a B+. I don't really think that he's done a bad job, and here's the reason why. We always are quick to point the finger at the coach. It's the coach. But you know what? I'm always of the mind that, the players on the ice, they have some accountability too. They need to step up. The system that he's playing works. When the system breaks down is when the players aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And one of the things that before Michael Therrien was run out of town, okay, he had a way of communicating with the players, and he took them to task. And you know what? When they were out there, I can remember after one game, he said that this team was trying to be the worst defensive team in the history of the NHL. I mean, he called them out and the players didn't like it, but you know what? They, he got them to the finals. I mean, sure, Bylsma won the cup with Therien's team, because he didn't come on until February, and and it was just a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, but you know why it was a breath of fresh air? Because he wanted to be everybody's buddy. He was, he was a former
Exactly.
player. He came from a similar era where you can't really, and you got to admit nowadays you can't really treat these all-stars like you could back in the day because they're just not having it. They'll shut down the whole team.
Yeah, well, look
They'll
what they
come
did
up
last
the whole
year.
works. Yeah,
Look what they did last year against the Rangers.
You will get fired.
Here's what you look at. You think Sarian's way of doing things doesn't work? Who's the top team in the East this year?
The
Montreal Canadiens. And who they coached by? Mike Therrien. So
they also, Carey Price is also playing lights out in goal too. He's right up there with Marc-Andre Fleury.
Oh, he's got Price. You got Crawford in Chicago. You got Quick.
Pekka Rinne in Nashville.
You got Tuukka Rask. You've got the kid down in Nashville. There's a lot of good goaltenders out there right now, and if you can put the right defense. Now they think the Penguins are playing a much better defensive system, but they have to score goals to win.
Exactly.
What they did last Thursday night, I believe, they go up 4-0 on Edmonton. And then they went to sleep and let Edmonton come back and tie the game. And Edmonton's the worst team in the league. Yep. Now they scored 2 late goals to win that game. But that right there, they cannot let that happen.
And that was my kind of my fear, though, with trading away a 23-year-old defenseman prospect for a 32-year-old guy that we already had.
And I don't think so much it was the defense's fault. Because you know what they did by making that trade? They traded for like talent. You know what I mean? Like they didn't give away more than they got back. They're just people. Simon Dupré. Did you realize that he's been in the Penguins organization for 6 years?
Yeah.
I mean, 6 years, and he
was the product of getting, like I said, alluded to, being a Chris Letang kind of protege style. And you already got Chris Letang, and you got him wrapped up with all that money. You're not going to put 2 of the same similar defensemen out there. You can't pair them together. But
they've got 13 games left, starting tonight against the Devils. The Devils are not a very good team this year. A good way to turn it around. And I guess, if you listen to that game on Sunday, the Penguins got very loudly booed out of the arena at the end of that Detroit game. The fans were vocal, and they let them have it, and they deserved it the way they played. But so that being said, they got a 3-game road trip, and no better time to turn it around. But, they got to turn it around soon because they got 13 games and then the playoffs start. And I'm sorry, right now, I don't feel comfortable thinking that they're going to make it out of the first round. I hope they prove me wrong.
Well, I won't argue with you about that. As we wind down the show, we got about a minute or so left. I'm not going with Kentucky for March Madness. I'm going to go with Sean Miller. I'm going to go with Arizona. Okay. I'm going to go with the other cats coming out of
Well, you know what?
West.
We got a few seconds left, and let's just touch on the Steelers. They have made some moves. They signed Ben, locked him up for the next 5 years. We talked about that earlier. I like the acquisition of D'Angelo Williams as a backup to Le'Veon Bell.
As long as he can stay healthy.
Solid veteran, and he may need to play the first 2 games of the season.
He may.
Well, Le'Veon's. Now they are interviewing cornerbacks, and you know what? See what they're heading in the right direction. They should pick up somebody. They've got about $6.4 million under the cap. I expect them to sign somebody in the next day or 2. And
we could get some good pieces in this draft. I think we'll be in better shape.
And they need to listen to Jim Frazier on draft day.
I don't know about that, folks. But, hey, thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this edition of me and Chip, the Prophet Hainer, on a special Tuesday edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. See ya.